So you want to make your own website.
Well, you might open your laptop, head to Google and search how to make your own website. And you might regret that. You'll read about HTML, CSS, domain names, SSL, JavaScript frameworks, WordPress, Wix. It's all
a lot to wrap your head around. So let's cut through the noise, because guess what? Anyone can make their own website, even total beginners. And that's what we're going to do in this video. We're going to take this sketch I made right here, and we're going to turn it into a real live website on a real life domain name. We're not going to skip anything. SEO, design, domains, we're going to do it all. And it's not going to be painful. It's going to be straightforward and clear. Let's do this. So I want to build a website for my YouTube channel, like the channel you're watching me on right now. It's called Steve Builds Websites. And if you look at my sketch, you can see it's a pretty straightforward website. A logo, a navigation, and just a nice homepage. Pretty typical for any small business website or personal website. Our first task is to choose a tool to build our website with, because almost every website on the internet is built using a tool.
Now, there are literally hundreds of tools for building websites. But for the sake of simplicity, I'm going to generalize a little bit and lump all these tools into 4 categories: frameworks, static site generators, CMS, and website builders. And here are examples of each. Almost all websites on the internet use a tool in one of these 4 categories. Now, right off the bat, don't even worry about frameworks and static site generators if you don't know how to code, because they require coding. A CMS like WordPress might require some coding, but not as much. And a website builder has no coding. So of course, if we place this on a continuum, frameworks and static site generators are the most challenging to use, while website builders are the easiest.
I've built websites using tools in all of these categories, and here's what I've learned. Match your website project to the tool.
For example, if you were to build something like Facebook, you'd want to use a framework. But if you're building a simple small business website like we're going to build today, you'd want to use a website builder. You could also use a CMS like WordPress, especially if you use a plugin like Elementor, but in my experience, it probably won't be as easy. Website builders are just simple and easy to manage, and that's what I'm looking for. So let's zoom in on website builders. There are a lot of different website builders, but in my experience, there are a few that are definitely better than the others. Squarespace, Wix, Shopify, Card, Webflow, and Framer. Let's call these the Elite 6.
Now remember when I said match the website project to the tool? Well, that's true for website builders too, because each of these tools have their own strengths.
Squarespace and Wix, they're the best all-around website builders. They have drag and drop editors, so you can just grab elements and move them around your website. You can also resize and reposition things how you want. All kinds of sites are built with Squarespace and Wix. Small business sites, portfolios, blogs, restaurant sites, and more. I personally like Squarespace better than Wix, but Wix definitely deserves to be mentioned. Shopify is the best for e-commerce. Like if you're building a proper online store with multiple products with variations and checkout, you'll probably want to use Shopify. It's not super easy to use, like it's not a drag and drop editor like Squarespace and Wix, but it does have outstanding features for e-commerce. Card is a fun one because it's definitely the cheapest option. But there's an important asterisk. Card is only for one-page websites. So like these are all example sites, and you see a lot of personal websites and landing pages built with Card. I think it's worth considering if your website can be condensed down into one page. Webflow and Framer are the best for totally custom designs. Like you can build just about any kind of design using Webflow and Framer. For example, I've seen people recreate Apple's website in Webflow, like including the animations. That's pretty incredible. The only thing is, both Webflow and Framer have a pretty serious learning curve. Like even if you have a web design background, they will still take you a few days, maybe weeks to learn. But in return, they'll give you total design freedom. You can design however you'd like. Now, what's the difference between the two? Well, Framer is probably a bit easier to use, and Webflow is probably a bit more powerful.
So we want to match my website project, Steve Builds Websites, to the right tool.
Probably not Shopify, because I don't need e-commerce. Probably not Card, because I kind of want multiple pages. Probably not Webflow or Framer, because I don't want to spend too much time on this project. Which leaves Squarespace and Wix. I'm going to choose Squarespace because, as I've said, I like it better than Wix.
But that doesn't mean you need to use Squarespace. Remember, match the website project to the tool. You can find links to each of these tools in the video description. And I should say, almost all of these links are affiliate links. So if you click those links, you'll be supporting my work. I hope it's clear though, this is not a sponsored video. Like, I currently have websites on Squarespace, Shopify, Webflow, and Card. I trust these tools with my own businesses. But our first goal is done. We've chosen Squarespace as our tool. Now let's get to work. Let's start by building the pages and header of our website.
Here we are in Squarespace. We can create our website from templates or from scratch with a blank template. Now, Squarespace has a ton of templates you can choose from. And if we click through them, we can see a lot are really good, but I'm not going to use them. We're going to build this site from scratch with a blank template. But don't be intimidated. It's actually really straightforward. So here's our website. And remember, here's my little sketch. As you can see, I've got a list of pages I want to add. So let's start by adding those pages. We'll go to Pages, and we'll add a blank page. And I'll do this quickly. Now we have 5 pages, and we can see them listed in the navigation here. Now, if we refer back to my sketch, you can see I have a bit of a different header layout. The logo is here, the navigation is in the middle, and the button is on the right. So let's make that change. We'll hit Edit, then click Edit Site Header. Let's first add an element, and there's a couple different elements Squarespace lets us add, but I really want a button. Nice. Then let's edit the design. And I like this layout best. And there you have it. We've designed a very basic but effective header.
Now you've probably noticed before that headers have a pretty consistent layout across the internet. This consistency across the entire internet is a very good thing.
Doesn't matter if you're Apple, Charity Water, or the cafe down the street. Your header's going to be pretty consistent. Logos on the left, buttons on the right, and navigation is somewhere in the middle.
Your website header should feel familiar. Even if a visitor has never been to your site before, they should intuitively know how to use it.
Think of it like elevator buttons. Every elevator has buttons in the same place. When you enter an elevator, you know where the buttons are going to be.
In the same way, don't make people think or have to search in order to navigate your website.
And I want to talk about this button.
It's often referred to as a call to action or CTA, and you want to reserve this button for your website's most important business goal.
If you're a barber, this is book an appointment. If you're a landscaper, this is get a quote. If you're a restaurant, this is reservations. And if you're a nonprofit, this is donate.
Squarespace has some cool features that I could use for my CTA.
I've seen other websites using Squarespace's appointment scheduling feature, and I thought I could use that to let people schedule a call with me if they wanted some personalized help. Or I see lots of other creators selling courses, and it seems pretty lucrative, so maybe I could make the button buy my course.
But to be honest, scheduling calls sounds like a lot of work, and I think we have enough creators selling courses in the world. We don't need more. So I'll keep it simple for now.
There's really only one goal I have for Steve Builds Websites, and that's watch my videos on YouTube. That's the main goal. Nice. Okay, let's leave this editor and preview our website so far. We have our pages added and our header is designed. Things do look pretty basic right now, and we will style this more, but first, let's create our homepage.
Homepage. That's a big page. I feel like I could use some inspiration before we get started. Let's look at some great homepages.
This is great. This is what you want. A big friendly photo, and I kind of dig these ferns. They remind me of like the awards you see on film posters. Kind of a fun touch. I love this. You want to be concise on your homepage? And Lizzie has beautifully summarized what she does in just 5 words. Find the joy and magnify it. And she's backed it up with some fun colors. Another great one. I like that she's putting herself front and center. And this is a great slogan. Let's turn your website visitors into dream clients. Notice how she's talking about you and not herself.
There are definitely some themes coming through here.
Be human. Don't hide behind stale corporate imagery. Put yourself out there. People trust humans, not faceless corporations. Be concise. No walls of text. People don't read the internet, they browse the internet, right? So give them something scannable. Be about the audience. Put yourself in their shoes. What can you do for them?
Now, theories are easy. It's much harder to put theories into practice, but that's what we're going to do now. Let's make the homepage.
So let's edit. We'll start by giving this section a background image, and I want to be human, just like the websites we just looked at. So I'm going to put a photo of myself front and center. Next, let's add a headline. So add a block, drag it out, and here's my slogan. I try every website builder, so you don't have to. Let's make it a heading. And Squarespace has this cool scale text option, which makes the text the same size as the box. I don't know, I think it looks sharp. Nice.
And I think the page could use another element. So we're going to try to add some testimonials. Testimonials are just a good way to build trust. And I have tons of YouTube comments, which are essentially testimonials, so let's use some of those.
And I kind of want to use this fern idea from the carpet cleaners. So let's start by adding an image of the fern. Let's drag it down. We'll add another one. I've actually placed both of these fern images in the video description, so if you want to use them yourself, go for it. Now let's add the testimonial. Let's line everything up. Sweet. Now I'm going to duplicate it. And again, just line this all up. And I'll paste in the comments. And let's nudge this down actually. And there we go. We have a homepage.
That was so easy. Or was it?
Because think about it. I just happened to have a perfectly formatted image of myself sitting around on my hard drive. And I seem to come up with that slogan pretty quick. Suspicious, isn't it?
Okay, confession time. I haven't been totally upfront because I made 10 other homepages before I settled on this one. And this is how web design really works. Iteration. No one gets it perfect on their first attempt. You have to try out a bunch of different things to see what feels right. And one thing I figured out late in the process,
my photos just weren't working. I was just using photos that I had used previously for thumbnails and videos.
But eventually I realized I need to just take a fresh new photo that would specifically work for the website. Okay, so I need some kind of like photo for the homepage, right? So I'm in my super messy basement and I'm just set up over here to shoot some stuff. So I got my camera and then I have a light right there. And then that's just a countertop on a keyboard stand. And I'm just shooting something super basic. So yeah, I did a little photo shoot in the basement and that helped a lot.
Once I had the photo, everything else kind of fell in place.
Now, I know, not everyone has cameras and lights in their basement, but you can always just hire a photographer or, honestly, just watch a few YouTube tutorials on how to shoot a self-portrait with your phone, because phones have incredible cameras today. But I feel better. I've made my confession. And now I can declare in good conscience that our homepage is done. Now let's style our website. We're going to give it some fresh colors and fonts. But before we do that, let's take a trip to the mall.
According to the stock photos I found, malls are where teens hang out, unusually cool old people go shopping, and couples pose awkwardly in elevators. What's interesting about malls is all the stores are the same shape, long rectangles. And so it's up to the store's entrance to grab the attention of people walking by. Look at how different each storefront looks. There's a reason Apple is tidy and minimalist, while Toys R Us is loud and colorful.
And it's the same with websites. Websites can communicate a vibe and tone with colors, fonts, and photography.
Building an art portfolio, you might go for a minimalist vibe. Lots of white space and room for big photos. Building a food website, you might go for something colorful and bright, and you might even use some louder fonts.
So what do I want for my website? Well, I think the vibe I want is something sort of playful.
Unfortunately, if we open Site Styles in Squarespace, there are different themes we can choose from. I think I kind of like this one, but let's modify it a bit. Let's change the color palette. All palettes have 2 light colors, 1 accent color, and 2 dark colors. For the lightest, I chose a soft green.
And this is actually a little design trick. Sometimes a pure white is a little harsh. Soften it up a little bit with some color.
Then we'll add a mint green. And for the accent, I want something playful. I like this green. Then I'll leave the blue. And for my darkest, I'm going to use black. Perfect. Next, let's add some splashes of color to this page. Let's give this button our accent color. Sweet. And we'll make the text black. And then let's go back to our heading, and Squarespace has the option to underline text. It's kind of cool. So let's do that. Let's use our green accent color. And let's choose a fun underline. Nice. Things are starting to feel more playful. Now, I'm not totally sure about the shape of this button, and we can change it by choosing a different button pack. There's a couple we can choose from. I think I kind of like this one, just a classic round button. And just like that, I think we've got our style done. Now let's build our next page. It's called My Promise.
Sometimes it's hard to know what other pages you need on your website, so you want to be thoughtful about it. Only create pages because they're going to be genuinely helpful to your audience.
For example, my mom is a therapist, and on her website, she has a page called What You Can Expect, where she explains what a typical therapy session is like.
I love this. If you've never been to therapy before, it can be a bit intimidating. This hopefully helps people prepare themselves a bit. My mom is so smart.
Or consider this cleaning company. They have an FAQ page where they answer basic questions like, how long does it take my carpet to dry? When can I walk on my carpet?
Both my mom and the carpet cleaning company are doing something important. They're putting themselves in the shoes of their customers. They're creating pages that answer the questions and concerns their customers might have.
So, back to my website. Why do I have a page called My Promise?
Well, I'm a YouTuber who reviews tools for building websites. One thing I'd imagine my audience is wondering is this guy trustworthy? So on this page, I'm gonna make some promises that explain what you can expect from my videos.
First, let's make a heading. Let's center it. Then let's start adding promises. I actually use the tools I recommend. There isn't a best tool. My videos shouldn't be boring. And let's get these all lined up. No sponsored videos. But I do have some affiliate links. After all, my videos do take time to make, so I have to make some money. And let's just move the page up a bit. And let's give that heading the same underline. Then let's add some lines just to give this a bit more order. And let's move it all down. And yeah, that looks okay.
Now I think the key here is to be specific. Notice I'm not saying you can trust me. Instead, I'm making specific commitments and people can make up their own minds about me. To illustrate this, let's look at another example, a bad example.
My bank, TD Canada Trust, plasters Canada with the slogan, banking can be this comfortable. And they include a chair that frankly doesn't even look that comfortable, but that's not the point.
Because in Canada, at least, banks are the worst to deal with. They're not comfortable at all.
TD Canada Trust is telling us it'll be comfortable, but they're making no concrete commitments, so I have no reason to believe them.
I think a more effective ad would include a specific commitment.
For example, no hold times longer than 10 minutes. Boom, that's a specific commitment. That would catch my eye.
So when you make your own pages, try to avoid making vague statements like, we pride ourselves on customer service, or we're committed to quality, or customers are core to our mission. It's too vague and meaningless. Get more specific if you can.
Okay, let's keep going. Below this, I'm going to add some biographical info. Just feels like I need that somewhere on my website. So, let's drag it out, and then I'll add a photo, move it over here, and then let's use Squarespace's shape tool to make it a bit more interesting. Kind of like this shape. And there we go. One more tweak.
Now, I'll be honest, I find copywriting really difficult. I think I did a decent job here, but my best advice is to write like you're chatting with a friend over coffee. Don't be overly formal. Good writing is conversational.
Of course, these days, ChatGPT can be really helpful for brainstorming ideas or just as a way to get started. Though be careful, the stuff it generates is pretty vague. You can also use Squarespace's built-in AI tool too, though it's also pretty vague, and to be honest, we want to avoid large walls of text like this. Okay, now this page still feels just a bit bland to me, so I have this idea. Squarespace lets you add animated art to the background of your pages. Interesting. Kind of like this one. Now, it's way too distracting right now, so let's make it a little more subtle and change the shape. Maybe make them bigger. And I think that's kind of interesting. I am kind of sacrificing a bit of readability here because I think it does make the text more difficult to read.
But it's a bit of a trade-off, and you can make your own decision for your own website. Okay, my promise, done. Next up, the rest of the pages. But let's just jump to the completed versions of these pages.
Let's take a look at them. Popular videos. This is just a gallery of my popular videos. Pretty straightforward. FAQ. Here I tried to answer the most common questions my audience asks. Things like, can companies pay you for more higher ratings? What gear do you use? Can you make a personalized recommendation? That kind of thing. Lastly, I created a basic contact page with a form. And those are the other pages. Now, we haven't yet looked at something that's super important, mobile. Sure, our website looks good on desktop, but how's it going to look on phones? So let's take a peek. Nice. Let's look at the FAQ page. And it could use some adjustments. Squarespace lets you edit the website on mobile to get things lined up how you want. Yeah, that looks just a bit better. And I'll have to edit the mobile version of the other pages too, but I'm going to skip that. I think you get the point.
Okay, so mobile, done. At this point, we've built our website. All we have to do is publish it on a domain name. After that, we can talk about SEO and marketing because our website is useless if no one visits it. But back to domains. Domain names can sound intimidating, but it's pretty easy to set them up with Squarespace. And it's really important to know. If you register your domain name with Squarespace, you can always transfer your domain name to a different provider. No website builder can hold your domain name hostage. That's illegal.
So we'll just go to our site settings, domains and email, and let's get a domain name. Fortunately, stevebuildswebsites.com is available for me, so that's easy. And I'll check out. Domain names do cost money after all. And we got it.
We do need to upgrade to a paid plan yet, so
just going to select the cheapest plan. And I should mention, all these prices are Canadian dollars. And we're done. Our website is live on a domain name.
Seriously, it's up there. Like, you can go look at it right now. Whew. Finally, we can talk about the fun stuff. SEO and marketing. Because our website is useless if no one visits it. SEO, or search engine optimization, is a term that gets thrown around a lot. But basically it means, how do you get your website to show up in search engines? So let's walk through an SEO example.
Let's say you're Common Goods Pottery. This is actually a real business in Toronto. They sell ceramics and they also offer pottery classes.
Let's think of some SEO keywords they might want to focus on.
A keyword is just any word or phrase that people search for in a search engine. For example, people might search pottery classes in Toronto.
But what would be really useful is if we could know how often people are searching that keyword. Well, we can get this information. There are tools that can give a pretty accurate estimate of this. It's called keyword volume. And I use a tool called SEMrush for this. Or SEMrush. I have no idea how it's pronounced.
So let's check pottery classes in Toronto. Wow, 3,600 people search that each month. That's actually awesome.
Let's keep thinking. What else can we try?
They sell ceramics, so what if we try ceramic mug? Yeah, people are definitely searching that. But here's the thing. If we flip over to Google, we can see a lot of websites are competing for the keyword ceramic mug, including Amazon and CB2, so it's pretty competitive.
So let's get a bit more specific.
Let's try handmade ceramic mug. Amazon and CB2 are less likely to compete on that. And yeah, that gets plenty of traffic too. That's a good one.
Or we could come at this completely differently.
Let's try housewarming gifts. And we can see that gets a ton of searches, over 40,000.
We could easily write a blog post with a bunch of housewarming gift ideas and include our own ceramic mugs. This is the core of SEO. Find keywords with some volume that aren't too competitive. I've included a link to SEMrush in the video description, though it's pretty expensive. It starts at like $140 per month. I bet if you looked around, you could probably find a cheaper option. So, we have our keywords, but how do we actually rank in Google for these keywords? And that's where things get complicated. There are many factors that contribute to where you rank in Google, more than can be covered in this video. And there are actually some great SEO YouTubers that I'll link to in the video description, but let me give you a broad overview. For starters, you want a good title for your page.
In this particular case, I'm not talking about the headline though. I mean, pages have a title, like you can see it in your browser window. This title is also what shows up in Google's search. And this title should probably mention your keyword and be sort of enticing.
Then a much bigger question is, how does the content on your page support your SEO? And I often use a tool called ClearScope to help me with that.
Basically, you give it a keyword, and it will give you a list of terms to mention on your page. Then, as you write the content for the page, it'll highlight the terms. It'll also give you a content grade to tell you how you're doing.
None of this guarantees you'll have any SEO success. SEO is very competitive, which is why you might want to consider Google Ads.
This is basically paying Google to show up when our keywords are searched. Notice the sponsored tag.
You don't have to worry about ranking organically, but it does cost money. I've used Google Ads for a couple family members' businesses, my brother's concrete company and my mom's therapy business, and it's a super effective way to get new leads for small businesses. Okay, I want to end with some advice. A great website is not about technology.
It's not about HTML, it's not about CSS, and it's not about whether you choose the perfect tool. If you want a great website, be human. Put yourself out there. Be like the stores and malls and use colors and fonts to create a vibe and tone. No walls of text. Be concise. You don't have to be a perfectionist, but keep iterating until it feels right to you.
And above all, don't make your website about you. Put yourself in the shoes of your visitors, understand what they need, and try to provide it. So even if you don't feel like a technical person, don't stress. That's not as important as you think. Stick to these principles and you can make a great website. Thanks for watching.